When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASEKI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASEKI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
Good evening and welcome once again to Truth and Justice TV. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be reviewing some of the recent changes in legislation to do with domestic violence and also looking at some of those things that came up in current news. For example, if you're somebody who's dealing with immigration, you'll know that the NHS surcharge is in place, £1,000. And the funny thing is the Home Office have been sending back applications asking people to submit them online. So therefore, if you thought you got in just in time before the £1,000, sadly, that's by post, they're now sending those applications back and asking you to submit them through their portal. And therefore, you're subject now to the new £1,000 NHS surcharge. Apart from that, yes, Mrs. May is going to produce a plan B. B is for Brexit and also for Plan B. So between herself and her party members, she's now having to reach out to other parties for support. But we had a very, very interesting situation over the weekend. A very important president went missing. Yes, another person with a B in their name, our president, Mr. Buhari. He was missing from the presidential debate. So we'll be asking, are debates important? Are they necessary in order for people to win elections? I'm here with you, Jennifer OBASEKI, and my very, very special guest this evening. We have Miss Priscilla Nwikpo.
Hi, Jennifer. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for honouring our invitation once again. And then we have a titan. Now, I have wanted this guest in with me for, I'll say, since I started the programme last year, because he is an encyclopedia on Nigeria. And his name is Mr. Ayo Akinfe. Thank you for honouring my invitation.
You're welcome, Jennifer. You're welcome.
Thank you. So today, we'll start off with the very important change in the domestic violence legislation. And as you said, Ayo, men are not often brought into this subject, this very, very important topic. So are you aware of the changes that have happened today?
Yes, I'm aware. It's still at the discussion stages. The Home Secretary and the Secretary for Victoria Aikens, the Secretary, the Minister for Crime Safeguarding and Vulnerability, they're looking to bring in this new law. But there's still a few question marks. They haven't spoken about funding and the policing of it, but it's a good idea.
The very important thing is funding. Many women who survive domestic violence then go on to have challenges to do with contact with their children, and sometimes their abuser, who may have been controlling their finances, controlling their mobile phone, controlling where they go, then say, okay, look, I also now want the kids to live with me. You're stressed out and not capable. I mean, who made the person or the man or the woman who's the survivor stressed out? The aggressor. So the whole element of this new piece of legislation is it recognises coercive behaviour and this type of financial abuse. But another problem we've been seeing, Priscilla, is sadly the police don't seem to recognise coercive behaviour.
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's not to say that the police don't recognize. The police are sort of trying to work as much as they can within the remit of the law. So when, this coercive aspect of things were not previously within the remit of the law. But now that they're suggesting that with this new law that's coming out now, we're going to look at economic abuse. We're going to look at, the financial aspect. So if, for instance, like you mentioned there, the perpetrator was preventing the woman access to her finance, that's an abuse.
Even her phone.
And her
we've got
phone.
so many cases where
so
these mobile phones cause awful situations in homes.
Absolutely. So it's good that they're widening the scope of the law. And with the wider scope of the law, it means that the police now will not just sort of dismiss that. If they dismissed it in the past, it was probably because they felt, well, we can't really take that to court
Or
because
lack
there's
of
no
training.
place of it within, the law to deal with it. But now, with it being included, it's much easier. Oh yes, they'll sit down and listen and take notes on that.
If you are a survivor, man, woman, young woman, married, unmarried, please get help for your situation. We talk a lot about domestic violence on this program, and we have spoken about controlling behaviour. But now there's been an overhaul in the domestic violence legislation that recognises coercive behaviour. It's been a hard road because still there's this lack of access to legal aid for women in this situation, having to prove domestic violence within a short frame of time. And where there's not been the physical blows, doctors' reports and things like that, it's hard to prove. The mental abuse.
How do you
hard.
prove
It's
that
hard to prove
mental abuse,
psychological abuse. And I do say that I think that the judges may need a little bit more training as well, because some of them recognise all of that was in the past. We need to know what's happening now, not realising the actual true effect that psychological abuse can have on survivors.
I fully agree. I actually think there's a case for having an agency, a specific agency to deal with this, and then that can look at, retraining the judges, offering the police training, and also the funding. Because, statistics I've seen is that the cost of domestic violence in the UK is £66 billion a year.
66
Billion. Now,
billion.
yeah. Now, just to put everything into context, the NHS England bill is 155 billion. So, where's that? This new law is going to require funding. It may push the cost up to 100 billion. Where is that coming from? So we need a proper agency that has, revenue raising
I hear
power.
what you're saying, Aya, but I also think that this new law will reduce the cost. It may be expensive to begin with, but what they're proposing is that perpetrators will be subjected to going into psychological
Rehabilitation,
programs and all of that, So I think that in the long run, and I think that with the scope being expanded as it is, it will also mean that those who easily abuse and think that they can get away with it, hopefully they will understand that you're not likely to get away with this now.
Yeah.
So if you need help in your relationship, go and get that help, rather than the abuse. And where we're looking at the courts and all of that, I think also that with the whole highlight and measure at the moment where mental health is concerned, I think that a lot of us are much more aware, more conscious of the fact of mental health and its impact. So mental health abuse. So I think that when you go to court, you and I know they would require a psychological report, for instance, in situations like this. So I think it's very much welcomed.
The problem with the courts is the costs. And if you're a parent and it's in relation to contact and one person alleges abuse, the problem that you have is when it's private law, there is no funding unless you can prove domestic violence within a specific time frame. But what you can do as a woman or as a victim if the aggressor has finances,
Yeah.
you can apply for a court order that the aggressor pay your legal fees. So if you come to me as a lawyer and your partner is affluent or is asking for contact with the kids and is affluent, has made the application, refusing to do a parenting arrangement with you, I will make an application for him to pay your legal fees, especially if you're on benefits and if you can't afford it. That's just standard, but not all judges acquiesce to that, I must say. But it's always worth a shot if you feel, look, I can't challenge this person. I don't want them to have contact under the arrangements they want. Therefore, they have the money. They should be able to pay for my defense because it's called parity of justice.
Yeah.
Both people must come with the equal ability to have justice or a fair
To have
hearing
access to justice.
and
Yeah.
access to justice. So talking about that, and then also, as you say, the reports and the programs for people. One, you've got to want to take part in the program, and if you acknowledge you've got an anger problem or you've got an aggression problem, and you want to maintain your marriage or your relationship with your children, why not? Why not say, look, I need help? Because
Yeah.
there's lots of people out there that will support you. Yeah. And then secondly, the cost of reports. It can be expensive, and often the judges are torn between a limb and a hard place as to what to do, especially if they feel somebody has been accused of having mental health problems. Is it going to have an impact in their ability to care for a child or a situation? Both parties on average incomes, a report's going to cost £3,000. What do we do?
Yeah.
It sometimes can become a problem. But if you've got good legal representation, and that report will help progress the case.
If you've got enough
If-
OBASEKI representation.
If you've got good representation, then your lawyers will try and find a way. But don't be deterred as a survivor, please. Make sure that you reach out for help, because help is out there. And if you're an aggressor, watch out. Change your ways. Look for help.
But just one thing, Jennifer, with regards to this rehabilitation, I'm not quite clear how that will work. If somebody's got an anger management problem and the judge issues a compulsory order saying you must go into rehabilitation,
Or you must attend so many sessions.
Yeah.
Yes,
now that bumps up the cost significantly.
absolutely.
Now, how does that get covered? Is that covered under the health budget, or do you have that?
It's the individual that has to pay for it. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to come from legal aid. It's going to come from the person who needs it. And that person, 9 out of 10 times, is the father. And that father will then have to look for a course that is deemed suitable by looking at the accreditations of the person that's run it, how long it's been going, what programs are offered on the course. And then they'll present that to the court at the end of it, having produced a certificate of attendance or whatever conclusion that course provider gives the attendee. They will then sort of present to the court that, look, I'm now aware of what my behaviour has been doing. I'm now more conscious. I am not going to behave that way again. I know about the impact on my victim, etc., etc. So it is expensive, but we hope that people will reach out. And not only that, we do need more providers. Some people are having to travel on the outskirts of London to some of these
Yeah.
sessions.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about them being cheap. Sometimes if there's a lack of cultural understanding between
Exactly,
the course provider and the attendee, it can often lead to a breakdown.
Language too.
Language, exactly. So
What if the attendee, the aggressor, can't afford it? Where does that leave us?
it leaves the person in much difficulty, sadly. It means that they are on the back foot when it comes down to their case. It means they may have to get an order that's not suitable for them, but come back to the court in months' time to say, look, contact has taken place. Well, I've been of good behaviour. I've no longer been an aggressor. Or maybe go for mediation that's run by a different place and explain to the judge, we couldn't afford this type of therapeutic intervention, but we've been able to afford another type.
But you know what? There's always government concessions somewhere. You've got
gotta
to
look.
look for it.
Not
They're,
easy.
yeah, they're not going to, scream it out there that we have this available, but they will keep it. It's always somewhere. So
Yeah, look to
it's
your local
important that,
authorities, see.
speaking to the right people, speaking to doctors, lawyers, they would probably be aware of where these free helps are available. There are some now.
Yes.
But it's a matter of you've got to search.
So look to NGOs, even look to domestic violence charities,
Yes.
and ask if they know any course providers that can help aggressors or people who are deemed to be aggressors. Remember that a lot of women die in this situation. It's one of the highest causes of murder in the United Kingdom and around the world, domestic violence. So let's really put our attention towards it. As I said, support survivors and also even aggressors who want to get assistance. Please, we have to also help them because that's the only way we're going to stop. And we have to bring men into the conversation. Yeah?
So important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, very much so.
You know, men are also abused.
Definitely.
There are men that are abused mentally. They abuse economically as well.
Absolutely.
They are abused in every way that women are abused. And I hope that as we move forward, as we talk more about, you know, things that affect us, that our men will be willing to take
Speak
that
up.
step to speak up so that we can also
but
get
it's
the help.
embarrassing for a man to say he's been abused by a woman.
Absolutely,
Whereas
but-
it's acceptable for a woman to talk about it, and that's another cultural issue I think we've got to
No,
deal
it's only acceptable because the woman has probably been bringing herself more forward over the years.
Exactly,
But I
yeah.
think that if the men were to practice that a little bit more, you would find that it becomes less embarrassing.
Absolutely.
And people will, you know, there'll be more understanding, I think,
Yeah.
with men.
Well, remember, you're not alone, okay? We're going to take a very short break, and then when we come back, we're going to be asking, where is Buhari? Do you know where he is?
Daura.
All right, okay. We'll see you after this break.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASEKI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And yes, we're going to ask, are debates an important factor for winning elections in Africa or anywhere for that matter? On that question, Mrs. Priscilla, what do you think?
First of all, I think it's great that we're starting to do debates in Africa.
Absolutely.
It's so important because it's absolutely important for those who are going to vote for you to understand, number one, who you are.
Yes.
What you say you're going to do.
Yes.
And how you intend to do it.
Also see you under pressure.
Oh, see you under pressure,
Yeah.
get familiar with you, you know, and all of that. So debates, I think, are hugely important. They've helped a lot in other, if you like, more...
Westernized countries or regimes?
yes, westernized countries, but I wanted to say... I wanted to use a different word, but it's not coming to me now.
More mature democracy.
Thank you, that's the word.
That's why you are here, you're an encyclopedia.
That's the word, thank you. The more mature democracies, we see it a lot, and it's becoming even more important within those mature democracies to have more debate. So yes, I welcome it. I think it's great.
And your opinion?
Well, Nigeria's democracy is still an adolescent democracy. People forget that, you know.
Isn't it more infant?
No, well, 1999, how many years ago is that?
Adolescent, okay.
That's what, 19 years?
19.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that
Okay.
makes you an adolescent.
Alright.
So
Nigeria is a young adult.
yeah, we've come a long way. But the reality is that the debates themselves don't really determine how people vote. Simply
Absolutely,
because
that's the thing.
the overwhelming majority of the electorate don't watch the debates.
They don't
Half
have
of-
access to the media where they're going to
Well,
see the debate.
About 70% of them don't have power. They don't have light to watch to watch the debate.
Point taken.
Those that do have it, you know, people. I mean, I've been watching some of the rallies, and you can just see the crowds are. They're not really. If you ask them what they're there for, why they're supporting this candidate, they can't tell you why. It's just that they love
They're
this
running
candidate.
and they're running with the personalities
It's
and the
more about the
charisma.
parties, is it not more?
Parties or character?
No, it's more about. I think it's more about the parties because you know, as Ayo says, people will. They may not be able to say to you, "I'm supporting a Mr. X," because it says it's going to provide healthcare. But they're going to tell you that I'm a member of APC
or
PDP.
PDP.
It is our party. I
Yeah,
am here.
but that's just because they've got one local champion. You understand? Say you're from Lagos State, Tinubu is the guy of APC in Lagos State. If he moves to PDP tomorrow, they will go with him.
Really?
Oh, well, that's what we've seen, isn't it?
But I think that Nigeria's democracy is maturing. This
Okay, you're saying it's mature, but is it
I say it is maturing.
maturing? I didn't get the ing. But so, my second question, is it a two-horse race?
It is a
Is it
two-horse.
Buhari, Atiku, and everybody else should just go home?
No.
No.
I think it is a two-horse race. We have 71 individuals
71.
running as president. This is what happens when standards drop, I think.
I think so.
So we have 71.
So confusing. I don't know.
However,
How is that-
I refuse to accept any Nigerian that says there was no option. We had to vote A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Because you have 71 people to choose from. So it is not acceptable for you to just narrow it down to a two-horse race. If you believe that the two front runners are recycled, or they've been there before, or you're not happy with whatever they offer, take time out.
71 is a
find
lot to
out.
start reading on.
Well, there are others that have traction and highlights and what have you. Take time out and find out about them.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
I agree with Priscilla to a large extent. And to be fair, not all of the 71 are candidates. Some are just they're doing what we call positioning, which is a new lexicon
We
in,
need to make a law against that.
Positioning?
in Nigerian politics. Positioning. You stand for office, you get some traction, your name gets out there, and then when whoever wins, you get given appointment as the head of a parastatal, or you get appointed.
So what makes you qualify or eligible or right for positioning?
Well, it gives you notice. Well, nothing.
So it's just, this is me. I might not win, but give me a position.
Exactly.
I
yes.
get you.
That is awful. Much as I don't like, I heard, it's not just the positioning thing. Some of them actually want to be able to have it on their CV.
I was a
former presidential candidate.
Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, and again,
I must say.
and if I can also add to that, I once heard Adam Ashomole say certain people rang him to say, look, I'll drop my candidacy, I'll pull out of the race if you give me so amount of money.
Oh, money.
Yeah,
Positioning, money. It's very, very, what will I say, unnecessarily confusing for the electorate. The electorate need to be guided on making an informed decision. And we already
That's
have...
why the debate is good.
The debate is good. So who watched it? And was it worth watching?
Which one?
The debate.
The president?
Those who turned up, let's say it that way.
Not the town hall conversation.
The one I enjoyed, actually, the debate I enjoyed the most was vice presidential debate between
Really?
Peter Obi and Yemi Osinbajo.
Osinbajo was always
There were
good.
also
He's always
two
a good
women
friend.
there. There were also two. It wasn't just Peter.
It wasn't just two men.
No,
Yeah.
there were 5 candidates there, but only 2 were worth listening to be honest. in my opinion.
Oh, I think that's quite damning.
I mean, the other three.
I wish I had what do you call it, a bell now. Ding, 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 ding.
Right. Back to the presidential debate. Now, Atiku, Buhari, 2 front runners, but there are a few other candidates. Like, I like listening to Kingsley Moghalu. Fela Durotoye has got some ideas. OBASEKI, but I think Omoyele Sowore is the one who offers something the most different and radical from the status quo. In that he's not going along with the IMF World Bank policies which we've pursued. He's the only one who's spoken about 100,000 naira minimum wage. He's come up with some very radical ideas. And I once watched the debate actually on TV, I think it was on channels, between Moghalu and Sowore. And that was like listening to a European left and right political debate,
So it was informed, intellectual.
Very, very much.
It was
so.
a proper ping pong match.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give me a give back.
Yeah,
Give me a
because
give back.
Moghalu was coming up with more. He was coming up with more conservative type policies. Sowore was coming up with more labor, socialist kind of policies.
Now, on a really thoughtful note, do you think that there should be a way for the Electoral College just to get rid of those people who are not necessarily credible? Should there be a better filtering process for those who are saying they want to run for presidential office?
Well, the filter is supposed to be the electorate. If you run and you get 2 votes, I think you've been filtered out of the process.
71 candidates. This
Well, I think maybe what needs to happen there is to introduce measures. So it's not just a one-round match, but I say match, one-round game as it were. But we introduce measures where, we have round 1, and if you're knocked out, please don't ever come back again. And we then will go forward with the 2 main runners, as we see in some of the other countries. Perhaps we need to introduce those measures. But I do think that, the system is such in Nigeria that because it's still very much in its adolescent stage, we have this unfortunate situation where even though we can see that somebody is not capable, for whatever our reasons and our love and for whatever it may be,
including culture,
I think it's particularly disappointing that we're not able, one, to sincerely speak up and to own it and say, look, and be honest and say, look, this is not going to work. And number 2, we have instruments available that says, look, there are steps within the Constitution that you must actually,
follow.
pass.
Must pass.
And we are not effecting those steps. We're not putting these candidates through those steps. And we need to do that so that we can, sieve the jokers away and really have real candidates with real intentions. And in order for that to happen, because at the moment, I think that, not only has the executive arm of government in Nigeria failed Nigerians, but the legislative arm and the judiciary, they are equally, just as bad,
just as guilty
in neglecting their duties towards the people of Nigeria as the executive arm of government. And that's why we can't filter out
certain
candidates
who are really not
No, I
working.
think like
those
in
that
France,
just want to collect positions.
I think in France you have to collect, is it 50,000 signatures to run for president? Yeah.
Did you know that in Nigeria you actually have to collect signatures as well?
How many?
I can't remember the number, but you do have to have people, was it up to 100 or so? You do have to have people sign your form.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got to collect those signatures
100.
from your constituency.
Yeah.
They've got to give it to you, and then before you submit your form to INEC.
People, next time I will go back to my Edo state, start asking my uncles and aunties for those signatures. I'm only joking, don't worry. Politics and me, we don't agree. I'm strictly strictly for law. But what you say about the legislative arm is also very interesting. A country that doesn't have effective legislation usually doesn't have an effective population and doesn't have effective policies. And we see issues in Nigeria such as we have now with people who haven't gone through this correct constitutional process or met the correct requirements. And we're in this, what we say, diabolical situation. Some people may say, oh, she's using too much of a strong word, but well, everybody knows I'm a straight talker anyway. But Mr. Akimpe, how do you see things going forward? I'm so disappointed that Atiku didn't take part in the debate. I'm also disappointed that Buhari didn't show up. I'm not sure. I've looked at his performance over the last year, and any president who spends so much time out of the country seeking medical treatment gives me concern. And if somebody is scheduled to turn up to a debate and does not show, or turns up and says, well, so-and-so's not here, I'm not coming on, it's just disrespectful to the electorate, in my opinion. Yes. It's like you're on the X Factor and then it's your turn to sing, but one of your other contestants is not around, so you say, I'm not singing. Just not done. The fact that they disrespected the electorate like that gives me deep concern.
Well, you just need to look at the deterioration in Buhari's mental state over the last 3-4 years. I don't see how he could have withstood the rigors of a TV debate. I mean, the big mistake him and Tinubu made when they merged the APs, the CPC and the ACN to form the APC was that they didn't stipulate that he should only stand for a term.
One term.
Yeah,
He said it himself.
But unfortunately, it looks like, I mean, personally, I'm sure Aisha wants him to just retire home to Daura. Because, he's fallen off the stage something like 3 times so far in the electoral campaign. The man is clearly not up to it. And I can understand why he ran away from it. Then Atiku probably looked around and he saw these young sharp men and he thought, hey, the one person I can beat in this debate is not here. You know, me too, I'm doing a runner.
I like that. I like that thought. I like that thought.
Why wasn't Shore allowed to appear on that stage? I think it would have been excellent watching. I think it would have been most informative for the Nigerian electorate. The one thing I say is, I'm not here to discuss who you should vote for, but what is important to me is that you make an informed decision as when you're going to that ballot box. Let it be that you've read certain manifestos, you understand people's credibility and experience, not that you're just doing one of the 2-horse races.
Well, you know, I don't know. Personally, to be honest with you, I much as I agree with you and I see that it is a disrespect to the electorate, I actually would have preferred all of them to boycott that debate.
Absolutely.
I wish they had all just said, we are not doing this. Because I think it's important that the message is delivered.
Correct.
Because we are constantly, you know,
appeasing,
embracing
nonsense.
and accepting, I wouldn't use that word, but things that we shouldn't.
You're being substandard. Let me use a better word.
We're constantly saying okay to it when we shouldn't. And what we don't realize, the impact of that is that we empower somebody, or we empower a group of people to continue to misbehave, and believing that they'll get away with it. Now, and I also I was disappointed with the organizers that they did not stretch far enough to include. You know, you just had one woman there for one thing. Come on. This time around, I think we've got at least 3 or 4. Yeah. You should have brought maybe
women with credibility and credence.
You know,
but I think the way when they conduct, but when they do these things, aren't they done on the basis of opinion polls? Because all the opinion polls I've seen so far, I don't know how correct or accurate they are, but all the ones I've seen indicate that Buhari and Atiku are kind of neck and neck. Shore is then third. And then I think.
So why wasn't he even on the panel?
Well, he was excluded. I think, as I said, he's the one coming up with the most radical ideas that will revolutionize Nigeria and change things.
So why was he excluded?
They're terrified of his ideas.
They're terrified.
I don't know why Shore was excluded, but I don't think it was acceptable that the organizers did not expand their reach.
Now,
and to have
does
more
that tell us
candidates
something
there.
about Nigerian broadcasting journalism in itself for them to have made such decisions?
Well, listen, let me tell you something. Make no mistakes. People are biased. The biased nature of be that journalism, be that when you're in politics, be that it exists absolutely everywhere. Yeah? But it is the way it's done. And I think that there may have been a degree of bias. You know, we're in Nigeria, we are particularly, when we're biased, we no holds barred. We're very.
We'll let you know we're biased. We're not like you.
We don't hide it. We're just in your face bias. You know, everywhere else they try to, do a balance. We're biased, but we're going to
cover it,
present it,
put flour and sugar on it.
We will have Shore right there, even though we don't like him.
Might not put the camera on as much, not give him the mic as much.
We'll have him there because we're not going to have you screaming at us. We're beyond.
Or use words we don't understand.
But not in Nigeria.
No,
what do you think? Is there bias within the journalistic realm?
It's not. It's to do with our cultural thing. You know, the power of incumbency, and this is our Oga at the top mentality. Clearly, the government didn't want certain people there who would embarrass them. And that percolates through. It's not, it's in broadcasting, it's with the police, it's with INEC, it's with everything we do. The power of incumbency, some governors have the power of life and death in their states.
Absolutely.
And it's something we embrace as a people. We don't stand up to it.
Because justice doesn't work.
And that's when we talk about the legislative arm not being fair, equally
not
accessible,
being active.
or being, enforcing its actual
lawyers
role.
not working hard enough,
Well, we hope those things will change. And that reminds me, yes, we will soon have our Lagos office up and running. So if you have legal issues, you'll be able to come there.
The position is about to be made.
But they will get rid of you too.
They'll just see me disappear. I beg my pikin, I know they enter politics. Please. Now, looking at this, I've seen that when you talk about culture, we cannot ignore it. Okay, some of the things and comments I've been saying, Shore is rude He needs to go back and come back in a few years' time. I remind people on social media that, look, you know, you look at France. French man came in, independent, outsider, and bam, he was elected. I think that Nigeria is scared of a positive change. They're a bit too comfortable and want what they're used to. Do you think that there's a bit of fear?
No, I personally, I think it's so sad for a Showere to have to deal with, you know, this
Culture, this
not the
you
culture,
young boy, you're too small or what?
No, to deal with this reputation. Because he has
been
so
labelled.
much to offer.
Yeah, he's been
But
labelled.
I think the problem, and you know, we can't deny it. No matter what you do, you can't insult me and tell me you want to come and rule me. It's not done. It's a little bit like listening to Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu. You know, within seconds, I like switch off.
Okay.
Because, and there are a lot of people who probably feel
So
that way.
do you think that's about maturity? One of the things I said is I can disagree with you. I can disagree with you, but I can be civil with you.
Right.
Yes.
And so maybe is it a position where if you are challenging within our culture, you have to be careful of your language and how you approach the
Treat
situation.
people with respect in the general.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see anything that's been particularly vulgar or rude in this
That he
campaign
has said,
personally.
okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything particularly rude. But I do agree with you that I think sometimes we're too scared. A lot of the times we're too scared to step outside our comfort zones. You know, our churches, our mosques, our local communities, and you know anything that's radically different.
It's all.
Yeah, it kind of scares us.
So
you
who is
know.
this Shore? This
Sorry,
young
you
boy.
know,
He's young.
yeah,
Young.
you know.
He's not 60 and he's running.
Yeah. So, because I think the young people are very much behind him.
Absolutely. I've seen
And I
that.
think that there are a lot of older people too who would happily support him. But you don't start a sentence with "you people are fools."
Who is you people?
You can't start a sentence with "it's
Don't
only
insult
idiots
yourself,
that don't."
exactly.
Do you understand?
So it's his language.
Nigerians are fond of doing
Language.
that. You know, just in a WhatsApp group conversation, you'll put something there, and somebody will start off. Only a fool will reason.
Exactly.
Hello.
You know, I said, you know what? I actually said to somebody.
Must we go down that road?
Honestly, I said to people, I will article you if you insult me. So I'll just ignore you.
I beg you. I beg you, please don't insult
Don't
me.
do it. You
Just
can be
come
civil.
back with a, you know, hit me back with a superior argument. Hit me back and tell me where my
No,
points
but
are
Priscilla,
wrong. Give me evidence.
You've been to the market in Nigeria before. When you go and overprice a bowl of meat, doesn't the market woman abuse you? I mean, that's part of who we are.
The market woman doesn't abuse me.
Listen, she wants her money. She's not.
Let me tell you of a recent experience. I was in Abuja. The last time I was in Nigeria, actually. I was in Abuja and I wanted to buy this dress. And I said, Auntie, how much is the dress? She said, she started. I said, but how much is this dress? She didn't abuse me, but she was doing one kind. Okay, no problem.
She was looking at you head to toe to see what price she should give you.
Wait, I'm telling you. And I was trying to get some other items, and she pulled out substandard of the items I was trying to get, and I looked at it. Anyway, I said, please, give me that dress. Can you just tell me how much this dress is? When she told me, we started haggling. Eventually, I said, no problem, I'll take the dress. Now, and then I said to her, Auntie, now what for you? You don't want to sell market today. You were just, you know, I don't know what your problem was. Then she brought out all the other
goodies.
It was much better ones in the
Exactly.
bag. I was like, Auntie, what? But she didn't insult me. But she was in a roundabout way. She just thought maybe I wasn't going to buy.
Didn't
she
have
had
the
listened
money.
to my accent and she thought, oh, you're just going to price and go away. And I thought, well, no, I actually was interested. At the end, by the time I left the shop, we sat down, we were laughing and gisting, as it were. Kidding with ourselves, haggling over money. I'll give you this much now. I'm not taking it. Yes, you are, Auntie. You're taking it. I'm only adding an extra 500. We were laughing and so on. Eventually, I bought what I needed and I left. But she didn't insult me. So I don't have the insulting experience, but you will have the, you know.
You can disagree. You can even be strategic without throwing insults. And that is something, having that conversation or learning how to engage, not even engage in tough conversation without throwing insult. It's something, as I say, maybe because we're adolescent democracy we need some lessons on.
I mean, look at Theresa May over this
Oh
past.
dear.
She's had
Don't mention
so
the
many-
B word here.
No. We're not
We've
going
been
to mention
mentioning the B word
I
a
was
lot.
just going to say she has had so many opportunities to like scream. I mean, I watch her at those press cons, and she'll breathe in. And she'll say, "Of course, no."
But the funny
Yeah,
thing
but,
is,
but that's English reserve.
that's English word, and she even
With Donald
slips
Trump,
in.
with Donald Trump, you don't get that.
We
right?
don't. Oh,
Yeah.
please. That's again.
I didn't make mention of Donald Trump.
You're mentioning the B word, you're mentioning the T word, and
No,
I'm gonna stop you both and take a break. Now, after the break, we're gonna be looking again at the Nigerian electorate and where we think things are gonna go. It's a few weeks away now, where we're in the final furlong. So after the break, we'll be thinking about who has control over what areas, and is it gonna be a sure banker for anyone? So see you in a moment.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASEKI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
You're still with us and the phone lines are open. So if you want to join in the debate, at least I'm here, I turned up, then you can call in. Or if you want to speak to any of my wonderful guests, then please feel free, okay? You can ask our lovely Priscilla a question or Mr. Ayo a question too. Now, some people may not know who you are. As much as I say you're a titan, and Nigeria Encyclopedia, there's you, there's another person on Facebook called OBASEKI. It's a cousin of mine I've never met, but this person is a historian. And you always have these facts and figures and like to give your top tens. So tell people more about you. How did you come into having this passion on writing?
Well, it was just a natural course of events. I did my first degree in history. I was at UI, and I was fortunate to be lectured by the likes of Professor Adi Ajayi, Professor Baro Ikime, two of Nigeria's prominent historians. And I remember me and Professor Ikime used to fight, politically argue then. We used to argue terribly back then. Came to the UK, I did a postgraduate in journalism. And what I've been able, and as I've grown older, what I've done is merge the two disciplines. So I'm writing and I'm adding historical context. And it seems to be, with the growth of social media, it seems to be the perfect platform for it.
Wonderful. And then you've also got some books under your belt?
Yes, I've authored two books. The first one was about what's happening in Priscilla's neck of the woods, called Fueling.
Romford.
In East London. Up East Side. Anyway, yes.
Fueling the Delta fires. And that was just a narrative about what happened. And I remember speaking to John Pepper Clark about it. I've done and Gabriel Okara. I spoke to a lot of elders in the Niger Delta. That was a brilliant book. And the second one was titled Black Ladder. And that was just a narrative of a Nigerian migrant, because I read Andrea Levy's Small Island, which detailed how Caribbean migrants came in the 60s and gradually integrated into British society. But today, the demographics have changed. There are more Africans than people from the Caribbean. And I felt there was a need for a book
to give that African experience of migration and settlement and integration. And our lovely Prissy, those who don't know you, they should know you. She's not my sister. Somebody asked if she was my sister. She's my sister from another mother.
Somebody asked me too, and I was like, she's like a sister. I've known her for how many years? But anyway, I'm not a writer, as is our IO. But I have, over the years, ventured into the world of journalism, as it were. Here I am now. I studied law, and I've been in this world of presenting, journalism, broadcasting,
advocating for women,
MCing,
radio program, so
environmental activism, name it.
Let's just say media.
Media.
Yes, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it.
Wonderful.
Yes,
and we've been
it's
enjoying both of you.
It's been
And
fabulous.
we look back now, and to my question before the break, do you think that any one of the contestants can solidly say, this region, I have it? I'm guaranteed the Midwest, North, Northeast, South, Southwest. Do you think anybody's got a certain region in the bag?
I don't think so. Contrary to what the parties would like us to think.
Oh, really?
I don't think anybody has any one particular region in the bag. There's so much upheaval, and there's been so much that has happened across the country that I think that in some parts of the country where once upon a time the ruling APC would have just sort of had a straight win, I think they're going to struggle. When we look at the South and the Southeast, they've never really been APC voters in the first instance. So I don't expect APC to be able to, have that. In the Southwest, for instance, it's tricky because they voted, APC in the last election. But as I said, so much has happened. There's been a lot of disconnect within their Southwest politics and how it once upon a time was, that I'm not so sure that they're all going to continue or give the APC
stay on that same train.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you see it?
Well, I think certain zones are locked down. Nigeria's got 6 geopolitical zones. If you win 4 of
60 geopolitical zones?
Six.
Okay.
Yeah.
6
gonna say.
geopolitical zones. If you win 4 of them, you win the presidency. That's generally been the trend. Now, I think Buhari's by and large going to win the Northwest. Now, where he's got problems is in the South, Southeast, and North Central zones.
South,
because
North Central.
of the Fulani herdsmen saga in the North Central.
Absolutely.
So the Northeast and the Southwest are going to have the two, if you like, marginals, where they're the real battleground zones. And, it's not cut and dry in any of those zones. So, and that's why I keep saying, I think it's still a 50-50. It's a cliffhanger.
But then don't forget, we also have an interesting, peculiar problem for the APC at the moment. In Zamfara, they have no candidates.
Exactly.
In Rivers State, they have no candidates.
No candidates in certain areas.
Yeah. So, and that's about 3 or 4 states.
Yeah.
And then we have the problems in the states where they do have candidates, which would be the regular stronghold. There are fights. It's not the regular candidates that they would have intended to run. There's been gazumping within,
within the parties.
Within the
party. Yeah, but you see, someone like Zamfara, they may not have a governorship candidate. So the PDP could win the governorship seat. But come the presidential election,
they will not win.
They
But
may
don't
still
forget
vote
the
for.
killings that has been happening in
I know,
Zamfara.
yeah.
I don't think they're going to continue to vote to be killed. I mean, a bit like turkey voting for Christmas. It doesn't happen.
You see all this, and we have this person in third place. I look at Nigeria's demographic, and if the youngsters, or let me say, are they millennials? The millennials and the baby boomers in Nigeria. So that's your kind of 21 years to 50, 60, 50, mid-50s. If they have got their voters' cards and they have access to media and they've actually looked at the candidates, do you think that Sowore could be a really interesting threat?
You see, the problem that these new candidates have is their structure. When I say structure, the mass that is Nigeria, as Ayo says, 6 geopolitical zones. You need to have the foot soldiers in 774 local governments. You need to have foot soldiers in 36 states.
Saying your name.
You need to have foot soldiers that
Telling
are going to
people who
assist
you
you in
are.
8,830 polling stations, I think, thereabouts. So, and I don't think they've had the resources to be able to stretch thus far.
That's serious resources.
Yeah. So
needed.
their names are probably heard in the more affluent cities around the country, but they're not probably heard of where it really matters, in the local government areas. And they probably don't have individuals there to do their legwork.
To do their reinforcement.
And that's where they are going to struggle. But I mean, you just never know. You just never know.
Do you think it's too late for anybody to put in a last surge in this final furlong?
Yeah, well, they could put in a search. They can make the argument, but whether that translates to votes is a different thing. Because, as Priscilla said, you can go to, there's certain parts of Bayelsa State you go to where you can only access the island by canoe.
Yeah.
They've probably never heard of Shawara there before. There's some parts of Borno State where you go to where the road ends, you then get in a jeep, and only a jeep can take you there. There are certain...
No, the road, that means the road hasn't ended.
There's two roads, though. The jeep
There's
can
two
go there.
roads. It's just that you need a special kind of vehicle.
a special kind of vehicle to take you there.
God
There are
help
some parts
us.
of the southwest, it's only motorcycles that can take you there. So in all those villages, they're not going to get the message.
Now, I have this question. Do you think that the diaspora will ever get the right to vote in Nigeria? I don't understand why, if we can have the VPN numbers, we cannot vote, or we cannot be electronically be allowed to vote. And do you think that the attitude in Nigeria, when I say that, the efficiency attitude will change if diasporans had the right to vote? Will it come? Will it change
I
things?
think that until diasporans stop being double-minded, double standards, double in attitude and behavior, we're not going to have that change. Because we have to be different to what's on the ground, and if we are exactly the same to what's on the ground, why should they accommodate?
And it's not a them and us. It's a case of overseas nationals, France, Italy, Germany,
because
America
of our
have the right to vote if
but
they're
it's
not in their
because
country.
of our
Why
double
is that not happening in
standards.
Nigeria?
It's because of our double standards
there's
that
two
we have
issues
not
here.
fought enough
Exactly.
to make that happen.
We need to.
No, Priscilla's made a point. I mean, you got to remember, there was a bill that was put before the House of Representatives by Abike Dabiri,
Yes.
and it got defeated.
Oh.
Now, this was way back in 2000.
Was it 2013 or
Yeah,
2012?
a while.
Thereabouts.
Now, you look at I fully agree with Priscilla. Look at the attitude of the Priscilla. When we go to Nigeria, we do boy, but we're doing yes sir. We're towing the party line. You understand? How many people would look their governor in the eye and say, excuse sir, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Excuse sir, this isn't how things are done in the UK. Until we do that,
Thinking
we're
about
not
how
going to
it's
get...
done in the UK, just how it's done,
Done.
period.
Well, I'll tell you, we had a
Standards.
commissioner come from Edo State and was giving a talk during our Igwe festival, and I will tell you, I stood up and said, sorry, but there's been no light in my state for 3 months. How can you say you are the giant of Africa and my Oba is having potholes on the way to his palace and no light, and you want to say we're a tourist attraction? Listen, not on my watch. So you've got to tell it as it is and be honest. You just spoke about being honest earlier, but I think that diasporans need that right to vote. We need to argue, compel, and Ms. Dabire, she works hard for us in the diaspora.
We are not
I
fighting
think we need
for
to.
it, and that's the problem, because I do
It should be
recall,
given to us.
No,
No,
nobody's going to give
no
you
one's
it.
gonna give it to you.
You've got to fight for it. I think, was it somewhere in 2013, there was a conversation in Chatham House, and the whole conversation surrounded whether or not diasporans should be allowed to vote. A report was compiled, and the vast majority of people who were present said they wanted to vote. From my understanding, because unfortunately I was out of town when that happened. I
place.
came back and I was asking what happened, and I tried to inquire, and I later learned that they took this back to Nigeria, and apparently, supposedly, don't quote me on this, asked Nigerians rather if it was okay for diasporans to vote, and the answer to that was no. What did we do after that?
No follow-up.
What have diasporans done? Do we demand from our NAS members? No, we don't. Do we place demands on our various state personnel that govern the states? No, we don't. We're very good at inviting the international community. Right now, number 10 has received so many petitions and letters. We want a peaceful election. You have not thought to contact your member of your rep or your senator or your House of Assembly state member, your governor. No, but you're calling number 10. Number 10 has issues with the B word. Take your time.
So people, I would say, though we cannot vote us in the diaspora communities, those of us outside Nigeria, hold your local governments to account. Hold your states to account.
Yes.
And also follow up with those members who are in the House of Reps with the fact that we want the right to vote. Why are we talking about this when we're outside or in the UK? Because Nigerians make up such a large number of populace throughout the whole world. The Nigerian elections are going to have another effect in so many other countries. The results of the Nigerian elections will affect economies, will affect people's livelihoods around the world, not just in Nigeria. And more so because we're ethnically Nigerian, we are concerned. It is home. We need to make sure that peaceful, free, fair elections, but also that those who are voting out of informed, free choice, not because of bags of rice or mobile phones.
Even with that, still vote for the right person.
And
Exactly.
besides, we remit $35 billion a
Back
year.
home.
So, and I think there's no state in Nigeria, apart from probably Lagos, that generates that amount internally. So if they can vote, we have a right to vote as well.
Exactly. Well, thank you. It's been a very, very interesting session this week. My guest, Priscilla, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Ayo, I hope you're going to come back. Encyclopedia on Nigeria is you, sir. And if you want to get his books, please look up for him on Facebook. You'll be able to get links through LinkedIn. Both of them are on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Or my website,
or on website.
ayoakinfe.com.
Okay, and thank you again. And be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. See you next week.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASEKI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.